So you're seeing the people come in, they want more of a quality of life, better pay, and they're going independent. And one of the drivers for going independent may be something minute, but it's big to us: respect.
Yeah. And respect and freedom.
Respect and freedom.
Why does a truck driver get into business as an owner? As Georgia-headquartered owner-operator Raeshawn Lucas was noting there at the top, higher earning potential is certainly part of it, but it's not all when it comes to bedrock goals. To repeat,
they want more of a quality of life
and
respect.
And respect and freedom.
Truth is, owner-operators go into business for themselves for all sorts of reasons, as was well evident in the discussion owner-operator Lucas was a part of at the Mid-America Trucking Show last month. It followed Overdrive's Partners in Business seminar with ATBS Vice President Mike Hosted and Overdrive's own Gary Bucks, who retired from the road in 2019 and has continued his work mentoring owner-operators more formally than prior since that time. I'm Todd Dills. We're going to run through some of that conversation here in today's episode with Gary, Mike from ATBS, and also featured we'll hear from...
Hi, I'm David Nihart, independent business capacity owner with Landstar. Been with Landstar 12 years, 20 years in transportation. Got my start in air freight, DHL Airborne Express, 8 years in management there. Then got my own first truck and trailer in 2008. And been with Landstar pretty much ever since.
We'll hear more from Raeshawn Lucas, too.
I'm Raeshawn Lucas. I'm a owner-operator. I'm leased under one of my friends who is the motor carrier. Like I tell everybody, I'm the smart one. I let him assume the 10% of the work of the paperwork and all that stuff, and I just earn a smooth 90% of whatever I gross and book my own freight. I'm the one that deals with the brokers. I negotiate my own terms because if you don't ask for the money, they're not going to ask for it.
And for another perspective on business structure, planning, taxes, and much more.
I'm Pete Anderson. I'm from Georgetown, Texas.
Pete Anderson was at MATS and attended Partners in Business with hopes of networking with other owners and building out his support network, getting a better handle on trucking business processes with other owners and more as he preps to strike out as a small fleet owner hauling over the road after a long career in trucking from the vocational side of things, working mostly in the back office today. We'll jump into it with Anderson's motivation for that on the other side of a quick break. For a word from Overdrive Radio's sponsor, and I'll note too, before the break, that for a detailed guide to the owner-operator business, from startup to adding trucks and employees as an independent small fleet, you can download our newly updated Partners in Business Manual via overdriveonline.com/PIB. It's co-produced with ATBS and was introduced at the Mid-America Trucking Show with the Partners in Business seminar. Again, that's overdriveonline.com/PIB.
First Guard provides commercial truck insurance to leased owner-operators done right, as we've done for more than 80 years. We provide physical damage and non-trucking. Many companies make you pay up to 6 months of insurance premiums up front, but not First Guard. We bill monthly, so you get quality insurance without needing to pay a lot of cash up front. Go to firstguard.com. That's 1stguard.com. First Guard. We speak trucker. Let's talk.
Here's Pete Anderson.
My motivation, it goes back to, like I said, I've had my CDL for 35 years. I'm 55 years old now, and if you'd asked me when I was 10 years old what I want to do, I want to drive a truck. So, circling back to it, I've got a very good job right now, paid very well, but don't really have anything to leave the kids. And I've got my daughter, like I said, is graduating with her MBA here from Texas Tech in December, and basically going to put her to work as running the company with my guidance. She's going to have a good business background, obviously, which is going to be pay dividends, I think. But the business side of it, I think I've got a pretty good knowledge, even though I haven't been out, driving.
You say you're working for fleet now, right?
Yeah. Our fleet's vocational fleet, so we're running, within 150 air miles.
You're not doing the same kind of work that you will be doing.
That's correct. That's correct. So, like right now, I'm in the process. We purchased a 7,000 square foot shop. I'm getting that set up for the fleet that I'm working with now, and in charge of all the specking and everything of the fleet we've got now.
As intimated there, Anderson is prepping for more over-the-road work than what he's been used to with the vocational hauler he works for in the back office now. That over-the-road work is the province of Kennesaw, Georgia-based Raeshawn Lucas, though, who pointed out some of the cards stacked against newer small carriers without long-term business relationships and the negotiating power of large numbers a big fleet may experience.
A little bit about me and my partner. I have a truck and trailer. I'm running under his. He has about 5 or 6 pieces of equipment. So the difficulty that we face when we're dealing with brokers is going to be tremendously different from major fleet owners, because they have leverage in the numbers, so that they can get more higher revenue from that broker because they shell out more business. They can take care of more customers, more clients, and all that stuff. Whereas us, we're just getting our feet in the ground. They don't know us. We don't have an 11-year history together.
About how long have you and your partner? How many years of experience or businesses do you have?
That's a voice there regular listeners may well recognize. That of Overdrive Extra contributor Gary Books.
To the best of my knowledge, he has about 17 or 18 years of experience. We both were BCOs at Landstar. Landstar is a great company.
Okay.
And then he decided to try and give himself a little bit of an increase by taking on more responsibility, more flexibility and stuff like that. So he went on his own. And then a year later, I followed him to help him build his, not because of anything with Landstar, but just to help him build his, and I built mine up under his.
As he made note of earlier, too, owner-operator David Nihart knows Raeshawn Lucas's former lease partner Landstar intimately. He's leased there today. Pursuant to an emerging theme of business adversity and strategies to overcome it, I asked Nihart about the timing for his first truck purchase, the year 2008, as markets tumbled quickly.
2008 was we were a team operation. It was me and my father. We came to Landstar with one truck. We actually had ATBS at the time, and we got a call from ATBS because they wanted to know how I went from a one truck operation with the team to a 2 truck operation and dropped my fuel cost $25,000 in a year. And they wanted to make sure that everything was on the up and up, that I didn't miss something somewhere, that my accounting was, I got all the receipts, because the immediate thought was there's got to be some human error here. But it was like, being at Landstar, they give us a tremendous fuel discount, tremendous buying power on discounts on tires, and so many advantages that a lot of people just don't realize and really comprehend the actual cost and value of the partnership. They just like to look at the percentage. Oh, well, Landstar is taking 35% of your money, and that's really not the case. My operation, I own my own trailer. I've had up to 3 trucks and trailers at Landstar. Ran a small fleet. I've also had my father. He broke off and ran for a friend that was former Landstar that started his own carrier, his own fleet, and they're up to 15 trucks now. But ran him over there. So I'm familiar with both sides of it. I was also an agent for a year at Landstar, so really familiar with negotiating with customers, dealing with customers, identifying their needs, what they're looking for, and solving problems for them. So,
well, I can say I'm very happy that we asked that question.
Also in the room with us was Mike Hosted, the vice president at ATBS, and, as noted, with Gary, a principal presenter in the Partners of Business session we'd all just wrapped up.
Because that shows the value that we are checking.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It was actually, I really enjoyed the interaction and getting to explain, the difference of, well, I'm really focusing in on my fuel economy. We got a really fuel efficient truck. We did a lot of work on driver behavioral coaching and just the fuel economy. We focused in on the fuel economy, and we always we learned everything that we learned at our first mega carrier, as far as they were using like Pro Miles. So we figured out, okay, how is this system working? What are they actually looking for? What are they doing? And just like Gary pointed out in the class just a little bit ago, very, very great tool for everybody to focus in on is, just taking the IFTA out of the equation and compare apples to apples. Compare the actual fuel cost. What is the actual fuel cost here? What is the actual fuel cost there? Everybody wants to, I want to get as much fuel tax paid now at the pump, so maybe I can get a rebate and I can apply it towards my plate. Or why complicate it? Keep it simple. Get the cheapest fuel and go.
Find a primer on evaluating actual fuel costs, pump price minus state taxes, to get the cheapest fuel in the new Partners in Business Manual, of course, or search Refresher on IFTA Accounting at overdriveonline.com. You'll find a piece there written last year by Gary Bucks, who teed up further conversation between in-process fleet owner Pete Anderson and owner-operators Raeshawn Lucas and David Nihart at MATS with this question for Anderson.
Where are you at in the process of starting that new business, your new fleet? At what stages, and what have you completed, and what do you feel you have to do yet?
Well, I've got to get a truck first.
Okay.
I shouldn't say first. I mean, I've
Driver first, right?
I got to get it. I'm looking for the driver. I've got a DOT number. I got my MC, and basically everything. I'm kind of the paperwork side of things, or that side of things, the authority and everything. It's kind of.
What's the business structure? Are you sub S? Are you LLC going to file sub S?
We're good. LLC is going to file sub S.
Sub S. Okay.
That's what I would recommend. Yeah.
Okay. And was that a hard decision to make?
Not really. Some of the background is my wife is actually a consultant. She's in pharmaceuticals, but she's a consultant. She's got her own LLC, so I was kind of familiar with how it operated.
Family experience.
Exactly. And then the sub S, it just makes sense because my plan is to not, sit below that. We're really where that threshold that it makes sense to not be a sub S.
Right.
So
set up payroll programs
exactly.
for you and everyone else involved.
Yes.
And what about benefits in the future? Do you have a thought? I mean, it can be really tough to start with, particularly, but do you have a vision for benefits, especially when you have to attract and keep drivers?
Well, it's something that I've got on my radar that I really haven't been able to engage yet. It's something I think that's going to be needed to offer to attract that right driver.
Health insurance, retirement accounts, things like that.
Exactly. Hopefully, I can find a million-mile driver that wants what I've got to offer.
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. I don't know where I'm going to, what I'm going to wind up with. I hate to say, but
you said you had some trucks ordered, but so equipment, as Mike talked about, is right now your number one challenge. Drivers number two.
Right.
I mean, you can't hire a driver if you don't have a truck. So it's like you're juggling.
Exactly.
And have you looked at different way? You said you had some trucks ordered, but have you looked at, say, some lease, like where you could lease a small fleet, like Penske or Ryder or any other types of options like that?
I haven't because I'm not financially. I'm not in a situation where I have to run to get everything going. Okay. I want the first truck to be something I've purchased. I'm not gonna put all my money into it. I'm gonna finance it out, so I'm not gonna use somebody else's money to pay for it. For now.
You have a good financing source?
I'm working on that part
Okay.
too. If I need cash, I've got a family of investors kind of thing.
Okay. Often that is something people struggle to understand, is how to get the proper financing, the proper rates or best rates, and so on. Trying to deal with a bank, find a bank that will finance. Truck is very business. Our home bank, for example, the president's a small town bank, but I talked to him about this, and he said, trucking and restaurants are almost the same. They are the two riskiest businesses a bank can invest in. And they have
very risky, he said?
Very risky. Restaurants and trucks are the two. And he said they have to have outside collateral to cover that and a history with the bank. So developing that history, not hopping around like we talked. Don't hop tax preparers. Don't hop around with your banks. Go in and make that appointment. Go in and sit down, talk to them, because it's like making that sales call. You got to sell yourself, get them to know you, and write. Jerry Fritz,
Jerry Fritz is a longtime independent, and I'd wager his name will be familiar to regular Overdrive readers from his TA Petro Citizen Driver honor a few years ago, among other things.
He talked about taking his business plan in a binder, printed professionally to the bank to get his financing with his projections, where he was going to get his freight, what his equipment was, his personal finance, what he's going to pay himself and why, just everything there. And the banker basically sat back and said, wow, I've never had anybody do this. This is incredible.
Yeah, it's a chance to impress somebody, right? Like, because not a lot of people do that.
That's kind of the road I was going to go down. I've gotten about 75% on having that basically exactly what you described there.
Yeah.
Completed.
I got a question for you. What about insurance?
Again, Mike Hosted of ATPS.
Have you shopped around that or started that journey? Because it's a difficult one.
big.
Starting.
Yeah. I know it. I've.
But then Raeshawn has something to say about that.
No.
Oh, no, he didn't have his card. He gets
well,
it through
probably
his
I-
budget. He's going to pay for that, though. If he's paying you 90%, you're definitely paying some liability insurance.
Well, the point of me being here was to develop networks and so I'm thinking of this as a major corporation. I'm thinking of myself as a huge Fortune 500. So I'm piecing all of the relationships that I build here together to go back and then take and say, how do I want to structure my business that's different from everything else, that insulates me from the ups and downs of the trucking industry, but also make sure that I'm taking care of the driver. So my approach is a little bit different. If I focus on driver first and insulation and making sure that the company is stable, because it doesn't make sense for me to pay the driver as much as I can and then I've given him most of my profits and then the company is out of business 2 weeks later and he has to go find somewhere else to work. So it's maintaining that balance, and I do that through negotiation of rates. I have a formula that I calculate my fuel, my miles, and what to ask for before I go to a broker, so I can say, hey, this is what I want. And it's based on a worst case scenario. My worst case scenario. I have a break even, a worst case scenario, and if they come close to the number that I'm asking for, I'm still winning.
I came up with I mentioned that first year, I basically broke even, and I turned to my wife and I said, Marcia, this is going to be a short-lived business experience if I don't change something in a hurry. And what I came up with is a little bit different, I think, in that every load I calculated the profit separately, and every load had to turn a profit, my pay profit, or I wouldn't haul. It didn't matter. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to move just to generate gross revenue and lose money on that gross revenue. And we have a lot of people that transition, unfortunately, and they're so used to, I got to drive more miles. If you ask someone, hey, what did you earn? They talk about their gross.
Right.
You know,
That's not earnings.
look at these major corporations. Has Amazon ever turned a profit? I don't think it has. Billions and billions of dollars. They've never turned a profit. It's a great investment, I got to tell you. But the point being is setting a realistic way to measure profit. I recommend, and I've done a lot of research in business reading, taking like a 10 to 15% of what you have invested in the contract. In other words, for every dollar you have invested in that contract, not what the contract pays, you want you want $100 to $150 return profit above all expenses, including the driver, the benefits, everything, to return to the company. That's what I'm thinking. And if you're president of your company and you're on that salary, that's not on the profit side being paid. That's got to be on the expense side. That's what small drivers, I think, have trouble understanding.
David and Raeshawn, are you guys set up as LLC with filing as an S corp or?
I'm an LLC.
Yeah.
I'm an S corp.
Yeah. You're not filing S corp though.
Honestly, if I'm being 100% transparent, I don't know the minute differences in the benefits of each. I've looked and researched, but I haven't continuously and consistently been on that subject, so I lose the memory of what it all means.
Basically,
I can explain the general concept if you'd like. So the general concept of the LLC, and just so you know, you can elect to change that to an S corp pretty easily.
Yeah.
It's one form. It takes almost no time.
Find a detailed how-to on setting up an S corp tax filing structure in the Partners in Business Manual, or search how to file as an S corp at overdriveonline.com. Mike Hosted of ATBS lays out the basics here in what follows.
When you change to an S corp, though, your requirements have changed.
Right.
Now you have to file payroll, pay yourself as an employee. Now you have to have a balance sheet at the end of the year. Then you also have to have your corporate tax return. Generally speaking, what we found is the break-off, the cutoff, if you're making more than $75,000 a year, you probably want to be in an S corp. Okay, so here's a real general example. If you're making $100,000 on an annual basis, profit, you set yourself up at an S corp and you have to pay yourself a reasonable wage, is what the IRS says.
Gotcha.
Whatever that means, right? The IRS is the IRS. We deal with them all the time and I still don't understand them. So reasonable wage, let's call that $50,000 for even money, and I think that's pretty fair too.
I like that number.
I think it's pretty fair, and we generally set our clients up somewhere in that neighborhood. So now you've generated $100,000 in profit, but you're paying yourself $50,000 throughout the year. So that's in 52-week increments or 26 increments, however you want to break it up. So let's say you're paying yourself $1,000 a week, and it ends up at $50,000 a year that you've paid yourself in salary. Well, you still have $50,000 in profit left over. That $50,000 you pay to yourself in what they call dividends from the corporation. Those dividends are not subject to Social Security and Medicare tax.
Gotcha.
So they're only subject to the income tax, state and federal levels. And so you're alleviating the need to pay Social Security and Medicare on that extra profit. And so generally speaking, because of the extra cost of payroll, because of the extra tax returns, the balance sheets, it's about double cost for us. That's what we charge. But we're talking like $1,500 more a year you got to pay to get this extra work done. Yeah. But if you save the Social Security and Medicare tax is 13%ish, so 13% of $50,000, you've saved $6,500, and you've only paid $1,500 more to get there.
And to make up for what you're going to short yourself on Social Security by doing this, you can take that money and put it in a retirement account or do whatever, right?
Question. If I understand things right, if you do that, the per diem, you need to pay yourself the per diem now because you're not.
Not in this instance, you do not.
You don't.
You do not, because of the way the laws are written for trucking. You do not have to pay yourself. You can still use it as a tax deduction.
You can't. See, I thought they changed that, like a trucker that's an employee, a truck driver employee couldn't take per diem deduction.
But your business can.
Your business can.
Yep.
Okay. So that'll flow through. Okay.
Yep.
Because
this year they're doing 100% per diem.
Right.
Generally speaking, it's $69 a day. Generally, they give you 80% of it for whatever reason. Why wouldn't they just say the per diem is $52.80?
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
Why would they not do that? It's so silly. But because of the COVID stuff and the suffering of restaurants, they said for the next 2 years we're going to give you 100% of the deduction for every day.
As Hosted noted, the 100% per diem deduction remains in place at least through this year. As he also noted, however, the long-standing 80% standard deduction for per diem in trucking has long felt, well, silly. I'll be very interested in seeing if, perhaps, Congress and/or the IRS sees the light on this and makes the COVID-inspired 100% per diem deduction permanent. Could there be even a slight glimmer of a chance? Don't bet your business on it, but you can count on it through 2022 at least. Find more on the subject via overdriveonline.com, search per diem tax breaks. If ATBS's miles numbers for 2021 are any indication, independents and leased owners as well may well have had fewer per diem days out on the road to deduct for 2021 than recent years, given an 8% overall drop in average miles across all segments ATBS tracks. For ATBS's independent clients, the drop in miles was almost 12%, which Raeshawn Lucas noted while we were talking afterward and offered some considered thoughts on why that miles drop was more pronounced for the true independents. We'll let him carry us out to the end of this first part of the discussion as his thoughts speak to the evolution from employee driver to business owner that is such a big part of so many owner-operators' experience, and how that, in 2021, and hopefully for the longer term, delivered more than just improved income, at least for owner-operator Lucas.
As a company driver, you're instilled in miles because they don't offer percentage to the owner-operator. I mean, not the owner-operator, but the company driver. So a lot of people, when they see how many miles and how much work they're putting in and how much they can gross, if they only had their own truck, they're taking that same mentality to the owner-operator business, and some of them have a really, really hard time getting a good foothold in the door. That's why you see cheap rates that get snatched up. Oh, this is more than 50 cents a mile. This is more than 70 cents a mile. So what you're seeing now is a shift of mentality. Now it's advantageous for me to run less miles and try to maximize my revenue through negotiations, contracts, and all that stuff, so that I can make sure that I'm not overworking myself so much to the point that I don't have a quality of life. So you're seeing the people come in, they want more of a quality of life, better pay, and they're going independent. And one of the drivers for going independent may be something minute, but it's big to us: respect.
And respect and freedom.
Respect and freedom. A lot of major truck companies don't have time to invest in these relationships with each driver, so they're mechanical. They're emotionless, and you're just a number, and so they don't have the respect factor. They don't have the focus that they need on the driver. You funnel in so many drivers onto one dispatcher, and you overload him, and he can't manage all of these, and so he doesn't have time to take care of a driver properly. And those are reasons why people go independent. Because if I'm out here risking my life through snow, ice, and also I'm barely making what I need to make to survive, I'd rather do it on my own. Because who's going to watch my back better than me?
At the same time, of course, no owner-operator can survive profitably long-term without support partners. When it comes to the subject of building that support team to overcome high-cost financing and other barriers to success for a small trucking business, well, keep tuned for part 2 of this discussion later in the week. We'll hear more from Lucas about his own overcoming of access to capital barriers, and from Pete Anderson and owner-operator David Nihart as well. A big thanks to all three for their time and to you for listening. Again, you can download the new Partners in Business Manual via overdriveonline.com/PIB. You can also find a video there of Mike Hosted's full MATS presentation covering recent revenue, cost, and income trends for owner-operators. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with acoustic guitar and other additional support from Overdrive Extra contributing writer and trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive news editor Matt Cole, social media coordinator Holly Young, and executive editor Alex Lockey. Till next time, keep it pro out there.